Hey everyone, welcome back to another LEGO Star Wars mock building video. Today I am building another clone base, and this time I want to incorporate a landing pad. LEGO has released a couple of Clone Wars vehicles recently, like the V-19 Touran, and at the beginning of this year, the ARC 170. So for this clone base, I want to incorporate the ARC 170. Even though this is a downsized ARC 170, it still takes up pretty much a length of a gray base plate. So I'm going to have to, kind of work around and see where I want to add the structures of the base and the wall, and then leave enough room for a landing pad. Anyways, I'm very excited to get building, so without further ado, let's get started. Well, the first thing I did was I actually placed tiles across the base plates to see where I wanted everything to be built and how big as well. So the left side will be the landing pad. And then I started building the wall structure, and the shape of this wall will be a one line, and then it goes down, and then it's another line as well, as you can see there, with the doorway being in the middle. I wanted it to be a little bit different because I had built a clone base a while ago where I just kind of made like a front gate essentially in the middle. So this one I wanted to be a little bit different, kind of add a little bit of style to the structure design. And I started putting some brick modified pieces along the wall. I put a total of 6 because I wanted to add some exterior detail in between the pillars, which I will put later on. Did one layer of dark red plates and tiles across the entire structure to add a little bit of that Republic color in there. And then I just did that for the rest of the structure. I kind of had to backtrack a little bit, take off the bricks I had already put so then I could do that, but it definitely is a necessary choice because I really do like the red for the Republic colors. And then I added just a little bit of green plates outside where the grass is going to be, but I placed that there so then I could start putting the pillars. And then the last thing to do to the actual structure is just tile everything off, and then I placed 2 plates with just one stud on top so that I could add the turrets. And then I did the same to the right wall. I wanted there to be 2 variations of turrets here. So once the front structure was done, the actual wall, now it was time to get started on the 2 buildings inside, and I built them simultaneously as I didn't want to run out of bricks just building one. 2 buildings will be a command center and a small barracks, and here I just wanted to do a little bit different to the structure by adding a little bit of dark bluish gray bricks there, and then I did the same in the front where I added some slopes. Now it was time to do the landing pad, and here I wanted it to be raised as I didn't want, it to feel empty and flat on this right section. I think raised landing pad is definitely the way to go. And then once I placed every plate, now it's just time to tile it off. So I placed some dark bluish gray plates on the outside, kind of signifying that this is a landing area. And then I was placing a lot of tiles, but I also placed a ton of big plates as well because they're going to be covered by the ARC 170, and I want to try and save some tiles and plates for when I do the tiles of the roof later on. I started with the command center roof as that's the biggest one, and kind of like when I was building these structures, I wanted to kind of save a little bit of plates and tiles for when I had to do the barracks as well. So with this one, I was going with some kind of just little designs with the red tiles just to add a little bit of that Republic color as well. And then I added some like generators in the back with some grill pieces in between, kind of like vents going between the 2. Something I've started to do recently as well, as you can see, I added a few 1x1 blue tiles in between the build just to add a little bit of accent color, kind of just to see, a little bit of wear on the actual structure of the base. I started doing that recently, and I think it just breaks up the colors a little bit. I wanted there to be a little bit of variation between roofs. I didn't want both to just be flat. So here with the barracks roof, I added an outline of bricks and then tiled them off with dark bluish gray plates and tiles. And then I did the same thing here where I just added some 1x1 blue tiles. Then I added tiles to the actual structure of both the barracks and the command center so that I can make the roofs modular. And then I just added all the generators, accessories to the interiors of both the barracks and the command center. I wanted to add a lot, kind of fill up the space, not make it feel empty, especially since I didn't have enough tiles to tile off the interiors. Now it was just time to do the grass section, and I added all the exterior detail as well. For the small chunk of outside, I wanted to add a little bit of detail, so I added a dark tan pathway that the troopers would follow. I added a little bit of elevation as well. I didn't want the land part to just be fully flat. Then for the plant life, I went with the 3-stemmed leaf piece. I wanted to put a bunch there, pretty much cover up the whole grass area. And the last thing to do was place the minifigures, which I went with the regular clone troopers. And here is the clone base all finished. Now I'm going to take you through an in-depth of the base. So starting off here with the outside portion, this is a closer look at all the plant pieces. Pretty much used all the plant pieces that I have have to really just fill out this area. And here's just the pathway that a squad of clone troopers are going out on patrol in, see if there's any separatist activity. And then moving on to the wall with the exterior detail, I pretty much came up with 3 different designs, with the outermost one just being 2 slope pieces, and then a longer version but with some grill pieces adding a little bit of variation. And then the middle are just some round plates, kind of just like maybe they could be vents or just some exterior detail to give a little bit of variation to the wall. And then on the actual structure, so I used the dark bluish gray slopes and then stacked some bricks on top of it, and then I added the smaller kind of curved slope pieces here, dark bluish gray as well, because I wanted it to complement the bottom one rather than just being full light bluish gray with just a little bit of dark bluish gray at the bottom there. And I tiled it off, and it just gives a little bit of more, elevation to the wall. And then there are 2 turrets which can swivel 360 degrees for whenever the separatists are attacking, and I have 2 of them. So on this outside wall, because it is at the edge of the base plate, I couldn't add any slopes or, the pillars there like that, but I wanted to add a little bit of something and just added these big long kind of slope pieces here with a little small section in the middle for some exterior detail. And on the top are the second variation of the turrets, which can swivel around as well. They kind of sit atop this higher base, and I've used these barrels before. I took them from the 501st Specialist battle pack from that small cannon build. I do really like the design. I pretty much took 4 of them and kind of just combined the 2, and I've done many turret variations including these. This is the newest one that I've done, just using 2 barrels, whereas in past I've used kind of all 4, and just give a little bit of design. I kind of use these dispenser pieces just as some detail, that I kind of just have them looking inwards, and just added these like handle pieces here just on the left and right side just for some detail so it's not just flat. And I use some dark red brackets to attach those pieces to, and it does give that a little bit of the Republic color, making it consistent with the rest of the base, so I really do like that. And I do have 2 of them on these walls, so that makes a total of 4 turrets for this front wall section, a well-defended base with, these being kind of the heavier turrets. And then I just wanted to do 2 to add a little bit of extra to this wall so it doesn't feel empty. Here's a closer look at the gate or entrance to the base with a little archway at the top, and I added 2 clear pieces acting as lights. So now moving into the base, there are 2 clone troopers here just walking from the barracks to the command center to see, what orders that they're going to receive. And then here's a closer look at the barracks roof. Not much, just a couple of generators. I didn't want to add a lot to the barracks as it is a smaller building than the command center, so I didn't want to put too much, and especially since this includes a outline of bricks as well, so that's a little extra something that the command center doesn't have. But I added just a little bit of red tile and plates just to give a little bit of Republic color and kind of be consistent with the roof of the command center as well. Now on the command center, I definitely added a lot of greebling and different generators and such because it is a flatter look, and because it is bigger, I didn't want it to just look very flat, and since it doesn't have the outline, so I added a bunch of different generators and stuff and kind of made it consistent. So starting at the front, there's just a couple of tiles peeking out, and then here's kind of this big generator with a bunch of greebling here with some dispenser pieces. And then right here in the middle is the red tile design with a bunch of dish pieces here with a generator in the middle just for some detail. Big generators here that can swivel on top, and then there's some vents, and then some more generators and more vents. And then there is an antenna at the back of the roof. All right, so now going through both interiors, I'm going to start with the barracks first. And like I showed in the building process, I did make both modular, so it's just easy to take off. So with the barracks, starting off here, there's a table, so clone troopers can, put the weapons there maybe to work on them, or just stash them there for, any more supplies that they want to get. And here are 3 weapon racks, with 2 of them being the shorter blasters, and then 1 being the longer blasters. And we have some clone troopers messing with some crates, and this clone trooper is going to get a weapon right here. And there's even a control panel on this one, so that they could put in that they took a weapon from this specific rack. And then over here, like I said, there's a clone trooper using some crates, and then here are actually some portable barricades here that are all folded up so that clone troopers can, take them out potentially if they're under siege from droid forces. They can just take them out of the barracks, put them up there. In previous builds, I've actually had these barricades active, but to be able to fold them up like this and actually store them in the barracks is definitely cool and a new way to use them. So now onto the command center. There is some wall detail with some vents here, and then there are multiple sections of control panels. So this small section consists of 3 screens with each a control panel. We have 2 clone troopers looking at, data about the planet and if there's any separatist forces seen or anything. I do really like using the technique of using the bottom of the lever piece, putting the clear pieces on it. It's a very cool technique, and it's honestly one of my favorites. And then over here is the second section with another blue screen and clear screen with some different control panels as well, and we have a clone trooper looking at those. And then on the right side, there's a table with 2 more control panels and a clone trooper using them as well. I know they are the cashier piece, but I have a lot of them from when I went to the Lego store a while ago, so I liked to incorporate them on this kind of like nice shaped table. And then right here is a group of clone troopers getting orders from this clone officer who has a physical waste cape that I got from the Cape Cantina. It looks really good and has the newer rangefinder piece, which I really do like. And then this clone trooper also has some custom cloth pieces as well, kind of signifying that he's the leader of the squad. Also has that macro binoculars piece right there. The officer has some orders for them, a potential separatist threat, and the officer wants them to go check it out. This is the second task force that they're sending out with, of course, I showed earlier, the patrol. And then the last section is the landing pad incorporating the 2025 ARC 170. So starting off here on the left side, there is a control panel that this clone trooper is using, seeing the diagnostics on the ARC 170. I took this piece from the newer Imperial Star Destroyer that came out last year. It's just a blank screen, so it was the perfect choice for the landing pad. And then on this side are the stairs to the landing pad. So we have a few minifigures on this landing pad other than that clone trooper, and they are the minifigures from the set, the 3 clone pilots, Oddball, Jag, and just a regular clone pilot as well. And so I have all 3 of them kind of in the action of doing something. We have Oddball walking up to the cockpit, and then the regular clone pilot just checking out the thrusters or this part of the ship, and then we have Jag checking out the wings over here. And then I actually incorporated this piece from the Yavin 4 base. It's just a little staircase that can lead to the cockpit. It is a little small, but the troopers can just walk over up here, and it just adds a little bit extra to the landing pad, and I really like it. And then lastly, there are 2 fuel canisters to refuel the ARC 170 whenever needed. And then I also had incorporated the pillars on this side as well, so that the wall wasn't just empty. And then lastly on the wall is just one long pipe connected to the top, just to add a little bit of detail. Anyways, that was my full clone base. I had a good time building and creating, different variations of turrets and different details to go with the structure. I always want to create new things when building clone bases. It's okay to reuse some stuff, but I want to always incorporate something a little bit different when it comes to building a clone base. And I really wanted to incorporate, a Lego Star Wars vehicle, and I'm glad that the landing pad came out really good. I'm also happy that I was able to fit everything on these 2 base plates. Definitely trying to plan out different formations before building, seeing what would fit, what would not, and pretty much everything went according to plan, which I'm really happy about. I'm glad that I was finally able to incorporate, a larger Lego Star Wars vehicle into my mocks, and I definitely want to keep doing that, like the V19 Torrent or the MTT for the Separatist side. So I'm very excited to see what kind of mocks I can make around those vehicles for sure. But anyways, that is my clone base. I'm very happy on how it came out. I really do like the look of this clone base. It's one of my favorites that I've built. Yeah, definitely incorporating the landing pad was something that I really wanted to do. But anyways, let me know down in the comments if there's any other mock ideas that you would like to see me build. Definitely lightsaber slash that like button and hit subscribe with the bell on so you know when I upload. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace.